Hello boys and girls, today we are going to be paper weaving. Here are a few examples of different types of weaving with paper. We are going to be working with the outline of the continent of Africa. Hello class, today we are going to be doing some paper weaving. And we're going to use the continent of Africa as our template. I've prepared a template for you. This is the back side, and when you flip it over, you can see the continent and some paper strips woven between the template, like a little loom. So I'd like to show you the first step. I'm going to move this over. You're going to see that there's a fold line and the outline shape of the continent. What I need you to do is to just fold it over edge to edge, always giving yourself a nice straight line. You're going to see that this middle line doesn't line up perfectly. That's okay. Then unfold and carefully cut around the continent. You don't have to quite touch on the black line. You can kind of go around it a little bit, like a shadow around it, but follow it as closely as you can. You're just making it slightly bigger, which will be fine. It'll be easier to handle. And carefully cut it out. That's the first step. All right, this is the opposite side, and this is actually how it would be on the globe. You'll see it says, Africa, my name is. Please clearly write your name so that you'll get it back, and then you can have a grade on your work. All right, now this is the little bit of a tricky part. All right, the next step. After you've placed your name on the back of your template, fold it in half, and let's start cutting these lines right by this shortest little coastline right here. This little line, let's make a snip. Now don't snip all the way to the end of the paper. You do not want to cut it in half. You just go to those little stop lines. You're going to see a little stop line. Cut and stop. Cut and stop. Cut and stop. Cut and stop. And when you flip it over, you're going to see that you've cut a little bit on these lines. That's perfect because you need to cut those lines out too. But you're always watching not to cut over the edge. So boys and girls, let's do this large part of the coast. Notice the back side is smaller. So I think maybe we should go to the smallest part. So let's flip it over again. And let's not bother with this side. It's so confusing. Maybe I better stick with the same side. Yeah. I'm going to cut to the next line. So here we go. Cut and stop. Look how far you are on the other side. You're okay. You're not cutting through. Cut and stop. Good. You're nowhere near the coastline on the flip side. Cut. Now you're cutting through two sides. Be careful not to go all the way past this point. And stop. That should be good. Cut along this line. Remember, we're on a fold line, so we're actually cutting both sides. And don't go any closer, so stop that one. Cut. Look on the flip side. Oh, you don't want to go too far, so stop. Always, while you're cutting, kind of flip over. I don't have a lot of room to cut on this side, so I'm going to stop right there. Cut. Oh, yeah, it's short on this side, too. Little tricky. Got a little bit of a tricky project for you. Don't go very far. Can't cut on this too far. All right, but we've made all the cuts on every line. So now we can put it back down, and we can open it up a little bit and continue the line to the edge. So you slip your scissors in there, you get on the line, and you go to the end and you stop. You might have a double cut here. Well, that's okay. So now you're going to just feed your scissors through and cut the line to the edge of the coast. Try to stay on the line and stop. Don't slice through. Cut all the way to the edge. Stop. Cut all the way to the edge and stop. Cut all the way to the edge. Stop. This one's already to the edge. This one, I'm in the middle now. This one, these are all good. Now I'm going to flip it this way and make sure that my lines are all cut all the way to the edge and the opposite coast. So I'm going to open up my scissors, and I'm going to bring my scissors up and stop at that little stop. This one is good. This one needs a little bit more. Stay on the line and stop. Stay on the line, stop. It's a little tricky, but I know you can do it. Try to be as accurate as possible. If you fall off the line, that's okay. Just try to make a straight line. All the way to the edge, stop. This is really the trickiest part of the whole project, just setting up your weaving template or your little loom here to make the continent of Africa when you are paper weaving. Stop. And we've already poked a hole in here, so you should be able to fit your scissors. If you haven't, just fold it and cut a little bit so you can get your scissors inside. And we nearly have our template. Now, I'm not going to say that this is an easy project. I don't think it is. Okay. Stop. I think my scissors is too big. All right, last but not least, the last line. Hold, make a tiny little cut, enough to fit your scissors, and then follow the line to the end. Try not to rip your paper. Finally, I've cut every line out, and I've created something called the warp. It's what we're going to weave the paper through. All right, boys and girls, to weave with yarn or paper, basically your concept is you're taking one piece of paper and weaving it through a larger format. This is called the warp, and this is called the weft. And you're just going up and down, over, under, over, under, over, under. And I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to go under this strip, over this strip. Under, over. It's okay if everything's sliding around. Under, don't do two at a time. It's always one at a time with this weaving today. Over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. And when you go over, you want to slide everything over. Let's go as far to this edge as possible. And push your strand of paper or your strip of paper over, and that's going to start holding tight. I'm going to pull this down so I get a nice little square up here, all the way to the bottom. You can let it just sit there. You don't have to cut it off yet. All right, let's do another strip. Now, in order for the piece to hold together like weaving, you have to go opposite of the first strand of paper. So the second one, this is over. You can see it on top. So you're going to try to go under the paper and through this little slit so that you now are going under, over, under, over. And this is a tiny little weaving, so it's a little tricky. Under, over, under, over. Oop. And the more strands you have in here, the stronger it'll feel. Right now it's kind of loosey-goosey. Under, over. And this is what weavers are doing. It's like it's a perfect pattern. Under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Now, in order for it to hold together, you're going to have to push this piece over without ripping it, and you want it to press up against the other one, and that starts to give it strength. On the back, if you'd like, I prefer you guys not tape these or glue these down right away, because if you make a mistake, it's really hard to fix. But right now, I'm going to take a tiny little piece of tape and I'm going to hold this piece down so it doesn't slide around on me. All right. Now see, maybe I did it too soon, because now I want to push these closer together. All right, next color. I don't want it to be the same, so I'm just going to go with a dark brown. And now I'm looking for my next piece of paper to be woven through. Right here you can see a piece of the white paper over. So I want to make sure I'm going over, under. I want it to be under right next to this one. And now I do the same thing. Under, over. This is where it gets a little harder because the pieces are starting to hold together and you don't have a lot of room to work. Under, over, under, over, under, over, under, and you feed it through, over, all the way to the end. Now I'm going to push this towards this piece because I want them all to fit together. I have to move this one over and pull it in as closely as I can to the other two. Sometimes if the line isn't cut very cleanly, it's hard to get them to press right next to the other. But that's as close as we're getting it.